Good morning. Quite often, when I see from an astrological viewpoint that some big event might happen soon, and then some big event does happen, then I always have a follow-up question. Namely, why did that event occur here instead of over here? Not everyone does this follow-up, but I think it's very important. And the big event I want to talk about today are the fires in California. So let me see if I can share my screen and I'll explain from an astrological viewpoint why those fires are happening now in California instead of some other place. So just give me a second here to share my screen. And I've got to get rid of a few panels so I can see what I'm doing. And we're just about ready to start. And we're ready. So astrologically speaking, why is it California that is suffering from so many wildfires right now? Let's answer this question. First, as the sun approached an exact square with Chiron on January 8, 2025, I knew there was a good chance that severe wounding of some sort would be in the news sometime between January 7th and 9th. But why California? That's the kind of question I always want to find an answer for when something bad happens. So, as I make this video on January 9th, 2025, there are currently 5 fires near Los Angeles, and below are their current levels of containment. So the Palisades fire, still 0% contained. Eaton fire, 0%. Hearst fire, 10%. Lydia fire, 40%. And Sunset fire, 0%. But again, I ask, why California and not someplace else? Well, the reason becomes clear if we look at the astrological chart for when California became a state. And here it is. And now let's look at the transits to this chart on January 8, 2025. Okay, in this chart, we can clearly see how Chiron is making a very strong conjunction to natal Saturn and Aries. They're both at 19 degrees Aries. This is exact to the degree. And the transiting sun in Chiron in Capricorn is strongly squaring both natal Saturn and transiting Chiron. At this moment in time, the transiting sun is also at 19 degrees, this time Capricorn, making an exact square to Chiron. Also, Saturn and Chiron are in Aries, a fire sign, and Saturn is traditionally associated with dryness. That is enough for this to be an astrological correlate to the fires. So even if there were no other indications, this would be sufficient to answer the question, why California versus some other place? With Chiron exact to the degree in conjunction with Saturn and Aries, there's a heightened chance of wounding for California at this time. And square from the sun acts as a trigger to this. Furthermore, Aries, as a fire sign, it's associated with arid conditions, with fire, and Saturn is associated with dryness. But there's more. There's also a very strong square between Mars, fire, in Cancer, homes, to Uranus, sudden events, and Pluto, destruction. And Uranus and Pluto are in Aries, ruled by Mars. So we have 3 big planets here in Aries, Saturn, Uranus, and Pluto. That's a fire sign, and Uranus and Pluto are being very strongly squared by Mars, which is also associated with fire. Mars is in Cancer, which is associated with homes. And this aspect is also very, very exact. We have Mars at 29 degrees, Uranus at 29 degrees, and Pluto at 29 degrees. Hence, from an astrological point of view, it is no wonder that wounding from fires is now occurring in California. Okay, well, that is the end of my slideshow. It's not very long, so let me stop sharing this. And even though this has not been a long presentation, I hope it's been very informative. And this shows you quite clearly how astrology often works. And every time I've done something like this, every time I've expected something bad to happen because of the planetary transits, and then something related to those transits does happen, and then if I'm able to get a chart for that location, I have always found something going on, which explains why the transits express themselves in that place as opposed to some other place. So, one of these days, I'll probably talk more about why astrology probably works so well. And the answer is maybe not so much something that has to do with physics as something that has to do with mathematics. But that's another talk for another time. So for now, I'll just say so long and be well.